I've made other videos about this, and it's much more well documented in archives. So you can look it up probably at the whatever library, the big one for America. And also Mount Rushmore may have some facts on it as well. Although, like I said, Mount Rushmore started out as a explosives experiment. Basically, I paid $50,000 for people to go and research explosives about. Mount Rushmore actually progressed in 2 to 3 phases, basically. First phase was explosives. Actually, what it was a road to nowhere, going where there's no one around. That happened, I think it was going somewhere. It was a train track or a road. Actually, it started out as a train track, I'm pretty sure. First a trail, then train track, then, abbreviating a lot. So, they were stopped by avalanche. In fact, they were, I believe, surrounded by avalanches at one point in time. Avalanche in front and avalanche behind. It got bad there for a minute. So they had to pause. So they cruised on up to the top of a mountaintop, did a little thing up there. And then I decided at that point in time to go ahead and maybe it would be better to go through the mountains instead of around them, because avalanches once per year were bad. So anyway, maybe, snaking out or, free avalanche, basically. It was a bad idea, okay? Anyway, so, but basically, it mandated the need for explosives, pretty much, or a way to dig through rock even more efficiently. So, because, it'd be tunneling through mountains, basically. Crazy idea, I know, to be running a train track through mountains. Because it was a heavily snowed or heavily avalanched area. So anyway, so they cruised up to the mountaintop with the train track, basically wondering what to do, and some people were trapped. I think their scouting party might have died or something like that. Something bad happened. They couldn't get to them in time. Then later on, there was an explosive experiment. The people who created DuPont actually were up there. There were a couple of different groups creating explosives. One of them, nitroglycerin, came there. Nitroglycerin was originally just a liquid that would explode within a couple minutes of mixing or something like that. It was very unstable. Short change unstable molecule. And so you had like 5 minutes or whatever. I think it was some short time between when you mix it and when you pour it. And because of the dangers of the fact that you drop one and drop the other, and then boom, and then even bigger boom. So it was kind of difficult. So anyway, and I had like a special little track created for carrying the explosive to the mixing spot, and they were trying to work on getting it to last longer, so where you could mix it up and then take it to the hole. And they were drilling little holes to do little explosives to see how powerful the explosives were. And there was kind of like this whole contest between dynamite and nitroglycerin. And each team was working on their particular blend. and there were like probably 20 different blends, or there are a couple different people, kind of like going head to head, as far as how on mixing up their own ingredients of each. And ingredients were being supplied to the people there to make their own explosives to do in the test holes. And the test holes were being drilled at great expense. Anyway, and they were doing the explosiveness of the test hole and how it shattered out to basically how it shattered the rock as the basic real world test of how powerful the explosive was. So anyway, moving along, eventually at one point in time, the nitroglycerin lab somehow got exploded. There was an accident there, and the whole lab went up because somebody dropped something and basically it caused an explosion, which caused a fire, which boom! The rest of the whole lab went boom. And so a new one had to be built. The lab had to be up on top of the mountaintop and blah, blah, blah. And it was interesting. Anyway, long story short, they did lots and lots of explosives tests. They created DuPont. Bigger explosives were made. It was turned into a national event where they would be exploding explosives a couple times per day for a while, blowing the out of the mountain. And it was really cool. People loved it. I think there might have even been tickets sold at one point in time when the crowd was getting too huge. Bigger roads were made there. There was a train there. Stuff like that was there. Eventually I decided, well, let's just go ahead and maybe do a carving thing. So I issued another $50,000 to carve the mountaintop. And then I think I might have issued another further amount of money. I don't know. There was money in the money in the money, basically, to make it look nice. And also there was a tunnel somewhere around in there going places, blah, 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 blah. All kinds of stuff. Lots of stuff. Huge amount of history there. And so basically a lot of stuff happened there. And what came out of it was dynamite, nitroglycerin, and DuPont. And a couple different other companies, which are now very huge. Anyway, basically I bought the winning ingredient and then thought, let's try mixing it with sawdust. And then there was other contests where they tried drop experiments with sawdust and nitroglycerin to try and make it even more stable. Finally, at which point in time, they realized that a different kind of blend, some sort of dirt moss thing, whatever, one doctor, one guy, finally perfected it to where it worked even better. And I bought that guy's stuff. I was like, okay, that's great. Thank you. We'll be using that for explosives and stuff like that. And stuff. So basically, and then there, after that contest, there was another contest, blah, 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 blah. And that guy went into business, blah, 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 blah. And I funded it, basically. Pretty much. As the U.S. government, I guess. I don't know. And basically, it was working for me pretty much. I don't know. You worry about the details of what was what, basically. Whether I am the owner of every company or I'm the owner of the American government. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter to me, really. I mean, this is how it happened. Basically, I was funding them to build the factories, retaining ownership of most factories and the government. And, it just kind of like a long, long period of time progressed to where I was very wealthy, blah, blah. At first I just owned the companies, then I bought a country or vice versa. It doesn't, it's like, it depends on how you look at it. But that's the history of everything. And I was like, eventually I started the stock market. And there's currency stuff. And that's just my American stuff. There's the Europe me, too. Or the the stuff I did in Europe, too. And then there's the stuff I did in India. And then there's the stuff I did in blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it was a long, 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 long time ago. My America stuff is just most recent because that's the stuff I did most recently. So anyway. I mean, you lose track after a while, Anyway, and then some fool named Rodney who blah, 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 blah. And I named a ship after him. After I named a ship after my mom first, called the Rose, which after 30 years capsized and sank when they finally cut loose the cannons and then made a hard corner. And yep, it sank. They were testing out the watertight doors. The watertight doors were watertight. Or the side little ports were watertight. Yes, kind of mostly. But the ship just still sank. Anyway, whatever. Some of the wooden watertight doors weren't so watertight. Or they couldn't get back up. I don't know. Whatever. It sank. Bloop. After 30 years of service or whatever. Whatever. Just another ship. After a ship gets to be such an age or whatever, it's just a random experiment. So, anyway. That's the way it all worked out.